Hello there. This is the fifth week here at the university, and just wanted to show you an update. Uh, right now, I've got everything modeled, all the 14 forms, and so I was just showing you this kind of a checkoff sheet of everything that needs to be done. So the first thing is just been modeled, UV mapped, prep for substance. Still have to texture them, rig them, animate them, and then get them ready for the game engine for Unreal. So you can see a check sheet for each one. And again, we're about a third, maybe halfway through. So lots of work still to be done. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, this will all be done. The textures, hopefully, at least the first iteration, I know I probably won't be happy with them, but I know I need to move forward and start making these forms. There's about 4 or 5 of these forms I'll be CNCing on October 14th and 15th out of foam. Just do want to show some things to remind myself in a month or 2 or 3 later in the year how to do what I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm transferring UVs, so old UVs on these objects, but I need to transfer them over. So you just select your first one, which is the dominant, and then the second one you want to transfer to, and then just go to Mesh. Select, Shift select, Shift select, and I just go up to, you can see how they're different on all 4 of them. Again, transfer on these other forms. You can see the UV mapping that I did, and in ZBrush. So when I transfer it from the old one, again, Mesh, Attribute Editor, make sure it's on component mode, hit transfer. Again, that's what I did with the little inner forms. Okay. Again, this is kind of a waste of time because I went with a different method, but at least this got them all kind of set up with similar UV maps. Later on, I'll compact them all onto one UV editor mode. Just a second, so I'll show that. I'm going to show one video at a time. So I'm showing some mistakes that I've made along the way. A lot of learning curves on this. So you can see what we're doing here. We're setting this up. So substance, so each of these little quadrants will be read separately in substance, so that I can color each one differently and come out with a different texture map. So this is a UDIM process. So one of the bad things that happened, I was excited about getting it to this far, but then realized there are some issues. I think game engines don't like it to have multiple textures on top of each other. So right here, you see me circling around those inner forms. They're all 5 of them are sitting on top of each other, and so later on you'll see it create some issues. So go ahead and show you the process later, what I'm doing here, but I'll show you some issues. So you can see some really weird artifacting here. And again, that's caused by stacking on top of each other, I think. So I wanted to get away from that. So I wanted to show you this video because I was excited about it, but then I realized it was a wrong method for this. All right, so I'm gonna keep going, keep showing some other videos. Again, this is a reminder for me in a couple months what to do correctly. This may be another disaster. See, the edge is a bit cleaner. So we go to normal. Normal maps are showing. Ambient occlusion is working. So this is the final. So this is where it came out great. All right. So jumping to the end here, but this is how it came out great. One of the things that I realized, I was exporting just one object and then trying to bake it on both. Well, I realized that you need to combine both of them and then export out the low and the high mesh of these. So this becomes very, very heavy, almost 900 megabytes for these forms. So I baked them out high and low. That way all of these get hit with ambient occlusion. Before I was just doing one, it was not doing all of them, was just doing one. I'll show you a video really quickly what that looked like. All right. Again, getting exciting about the process of putting this all together. One of the things I did is a cool thing is go out to layout, and just selected the 5 objects, those inner forms, and I put the texture map size at 2048 and put some padding so on the edge it comes off the wall. Tile 1 by 1. So I wanted all those to sit on one UV tile. Same with this. I wanted all these to sit on one UV tile. And you notice now that they're split into 2. They're not one sitting on top of each other, especially the 5. I wanted to separate those out. So I think this is key so you don't get to really weird artifacting. And I can only imagine what would happen in Maya. All right, so I'm selecting everything, combining it. And one of the big things is make sure you right-click edge and relax the edges or smooth them. Okay, FBX, so that way you have all the different layers. So when you go into substance, you have all the different objects and so forth. Right here I got smoothing groups, triangulate, export out, and I think you just in a second you see me make a mistake. And you can see I'm going to 20, 4K. Really important, create texture set per UDIM tile. And here I'm selecting high and low, baking these texture maps onto these forms. Again, this was a mistake one. You can see some really weird artifacting going on. And I don't think I relaxed them. And also I didn't have, didn't export all the forms together as one big unit. I was just doing that one. So I had to go back into ZBrush and combine them all together, export a low one and a high one, and rinse and repeat the whole thing, what I showed earlier in the final video. So you can see there, it's only 129 megabytes. So that was just the one form. So it kept us doing all the texture maps on the very front one. You can see the process that I'm doing. And you can see right there, it's just doing that front one at the very top, not doing the rest. It was spitting out some data, but it doesn't collect it at the end. I'll go all the way through this real quick. See the nasty results. Okay, so you can see over to the left, the normal map is completely flat. No data are on these things, no ambient occlusion. And really quickly on the size of the brush is just command and right click. We'll go size it up or down. Again, this is all just a real quick tutorial for myself. I remember it. Okay, so you're going to see the mistake now. We're going to go to ambient occlusion. So you see normal map is not showing up at all. Again, it was only baking that first one because it didn't have the other four. Again, normal map, nothing except on the very first form. Ambient occlusion completely white. So that's when I realized totally making a mistake. There. So it's good to see this as a bad result. Okay, I'm going to go back to the final video. Again, these are good results. Again, that was taking both those forms, creating a mesh with all the UV maps spread out into the one UV tile, and then keeping those UV layouts and taking it to ZBrush, going from low to high, 6 divisions, and exporting it out. Also the low division, exporting it out, and baking it out. And the bakes take forever just because it's a lot of data. But now you can see data is good. When we go to our normal map, you can see all the data is spread out throughout all the forms. Before it was just all blue. Ambient occlusion, all of them have ambient occlusion baked on. Again, you have to take them all out as one mesh. Make sure they're all on one UV tile and not overlapping each other. And then totally bake out high, bake out low, and then bring everything back into Maya. All right, again, super, make sure that when you bring it into Maya, right-click Edge, and then edit Mesh, and then Smooth. Make sure everything's smooth. All right, that's a little bit of what I've learned. We'll get into Substance a little bit more, but Substance was quite successful, as you can see. All right, so in this video, I'm just kind of showcasing one of the forms. I think it's the flapper, I think I call it. And so I'm just walking through the process of going into ZBrush. So going to very high density, many levels, and then cloning it, unwrapping it so it has a good UV map to it. Fat was very generous and showed me how to do this. I was trying to do it all in Maya tools, but realized ZBrush has a better UV mapping system for organic forms. I was having so much difficulty with it. So just really quickly to show you the process of the laborious process of taking these and UV mapping, bring it back into Maya, and then setting up the UDMI, I think, system where you lay out different textures to be baked out with different materials. So you saw the top part, now this is the bottom part, really quickly exporting it out, UV mapping it, and then getting this into Substance. Again, the texturing is going to take probably 4 times longer, so I'm not looking forward to that. So you can see dividing it up. Oops, I think I'm showing you how not to divide it up. This could be just complete waste of video that I'm showing right now. Okay, if you don't do it right the first time, rinse and repeat. So again, showing the division. And then I go into UV master, and then clone it, and then really quickly unwrap it. Again, this is a wasted footage. I think this thing crapped out on me. So anyways, moving forward, we bring this all onto Maya, both the bottom and the top, and some of these forms have like 8 or 9 or 10 pieces. So trying to get all the forms together and then all as one mesh, but then actually having different materials in substance, so I can paint them, but also be able to see what it looks like painted together. So you can see a little bit of this process of taking the UV map and then pulling it over to another UV zone. So I'm pulling over, make sure that the UV maps don't spill over. And then the bottom one already sits there. So again, really quick process of exporting both of these together. So you can see right now I'm pulling them together, combining them to one mesh. Going to edge mode, selecting them all, going to, I think it's edit mesh, I can't see, but smoothing or soften edge. So when you bring into Substance or Unreal or Unity, it's a soft edge, not hard edges, hard polygonal lines. See me saving out the file. Again, just showing the whole process. Again, this is a very relatively simple form because there's only 2 objects, but have you seen the other objects I have, there's about 7 or 8 or sometimes 12 pieces. I think you're just watching me going through a fatigue process, trying to figure out where to save this stuff. Trying to keep everything organized. So we're going to jump into Substance. And we're going to bring it in. So right when you start with Substance, we go to 4K. Click on that. I have no idea. I think I've heard on a tutorial that it helps out with Unreal. So now I'm bringing my final combined object where the edges were smooth, bring it into Substance. And you can see it's got 2 layers for the texture, so each layer I can paint. It's already UV mapped properly. And now it's a process of baking out the higher polygon version of it, so it has a nice map to start with. Again, it's probably overkill. It's not really that smooth, but it gives it a little bit of a starting point for normal maps and so forth. So now I'm looking for, actually I think this is a wasted video. I think I didn't have the high normal map, so this is another video. So it's showing the 2 layers, getting ready to bake out a map. Check off the ID map. Going and selecting the high mesh. These are very heavy, 200, 300, 400 megabytes. Again, overkill, but again, just doing what I've seen in tutorials, UV mapping. So right now it's picking out normal maps, world normal maps, ambient inclusion. A lot of it's not perfect, a lot of issues. And again, once I start texturing it, probably a lot of this stuff will kind of dissipate, hopefully, when I rebake out the textures at the end. A lot of this noise and so forth will be backed out. So you can imagine doing this for all 14. It's taking about a week, maybe a week and a half to do. So we're in the Voss lab right now at Victoria University, and quite a lively group. Some of the stuff takes a while. Some of it's pretty quick. So I think this is the last part. So you can see it makes it a little bit smoother looking. Again, this is not final by any means, just really textured and then rigged and animated. So this is probably one that will probably be milled out out of foam, maybe half plastic for the top, foam for the bottom. Then you can see I'm just swirling around the light so you can see different aspects of it. So hopefully these videos will go a little bit quicker. You can see this is the bottom of the dome. This is where you'll be standing. About 3 different elements. You can see it in substance really quickly, the high, low levels. And you can see really quickly the process and ZBrush cloning it. Copy UVs. Again, just a real quick process of exporting it out. So there's all these 3 different layers. So I can go and start texturing it next week. So there's all the different maps you can see me rolling over. Again, exciting stuff. Hopefully I don't have to redo any of it. I have no idea if this is way too much geometry for a game engine. I'm sure a lot of this stuff will be scrapped and then redone. Here again is kind of the UV layout. So I'm making separate UDMI texture layouts here. You can see how this is laid out. This is the tall tubular form. So these will be probably about 20 to 30 of them surrounding you, and they'll kind of moving. And then there's ones that are in front of it that are tall. Again, you can see how this is done. Export the low poly and then pump it out to a higher mesh and then bring into substance. So I'm just showing you how these were all done using the layout editor and Maya. Sometimes with the multiple groups you can select UVs and then the layout dialog box, and it'll push everything in there into a box so it's all equal, and there's 20% or 20% by 20% pixel padding, so nothing's touching each other, which is important. So again, finish everything this week, all 14 models, and so every day I spend about an hour drawing. So it's a real quick speed video showing the drawing. At night, try to do a real quick, like 20-30 minute meditation, come up with these ideas, and then the next day drawing them out. So I'm hoping to have a total of 80 final drawings. Again, these are just quick sketches, 1 hour, so they're not final. So hopefully we'll be able to take these back home and then pick out the top 12 or top 15 and start doing final 50 to 100 hour drawings. So really quickly you can see from the start of the video here, those are the sketches at night from the meditation, and then a fully layered drawing with Mylar and paper. So again, there's only about 14 so far. Should have a lot more. Sometimes it's too much going on during the day to try to figure out to get a second to do some more drawings. So outside our lab, there's a light box for taking photos, but I'm really interested in how the light hits. It's just LED lights, and I really like a lot of light on it. This is this is something I'm working with Daniel at ICAT. He's going to help me figure out a system where these forms that I'm milling out are touchable. So this is conductive, bare conductive paint, and again, it's quite loud in here. So you can paint a surface and then touch it, and then it'll use it to trigger off an event and hopefully Unreal or Unity. So this is straight off of their website that I'm videotaping. And so the idea is that people will touch the form and then it'll trigger off an event like sound. And so Daniel's going to be working on that on the 20th. Got some trackers, Vibe trackers here. We have about 3 of them here in the lab. And so these are the pens that actually send out a signal. And so here's some examples of how you can do that. So this is online, YouTube, so I'm showing how to get the signal. So you can see them closing a loop. And you can see it's the trigger that's actually on the Vibe tracker. So this is a way of hacking it. And so we'll be 3D printing out something that'll touch the pen, and so we can be able to solder to it. And this is a sound system.
My name's Liam. I'm a Masters of Architecture student here in Wellington, and I'm currently setting up a spatialized sound setup to further my research, which is about the role that sound plays in architecture. So I'm using Unity game engine to control the sound sources and the speakers, and via UDP sending that to Max, and in Max I'm using a ambisonic decoder. I've forgotten the name of it, but it takes the position and number of speakers and the position of your sources, and converts that into a number of channels. So at the moment I'm running it on 6 channels. The position of the sound sources update from Unity gets sent to Max, and then out of Max with the 6 audio channels through USB I'm going to an 8-channel mixer, and then from the mixer going out to currently 3 speakers but shortly 6. And so they're mounted to the walls on shelves at the moment.
Hey, can you tell me about this brilliant, why are these bracketed on the walls?
In case of an earthquake, if I don't want them falling off.
So this is a real thing. So he's actually 3D printing these because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper than buying the metal brackets.
Yeah, it's a metal bracket. So this is a New Zealand thing. If you need it, just make it. Right?
Yeah.
It's 10 times cheaper. So.
Yeah, and the other advantage of using Unity is that I can have a VR headset as well and tracking objects. So essentially, any of the data I collect in Unity, it can be easily sent out to Max, and I can use that. So it'll the final project will have